A report from National Research Council claims that legal response to juvenile offending should be grounded in emerging scientific knowledge about adolescent development. It should be tailored to an individual offender's needs and social environment. The report also highlights evidence that indicates that during adolescence, the brain is still immature. The adolescents are less able to regulate their behavior. They are more sensitive to external influences such as peer pressure, social media, and many other things such as immediate reward as well, which is linked to social media now and a different culture. And they show less ability to make judgments and decisions that require future orientation. Thus, accountability practices should not be carried over from criminal courts to juvenile courts because these courts are designed for adult offenders. Sponsored by the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention finds that in our current juvenile justice system, which relies heavily on confinement, there is a system in place which is not healthy enough for adolescent development. Active involvement by a parent figure, peer groups that value positive socializing and academic success, and are activates that contributes to decision making and critical thinking capabilities of these juveniles. So the question over here is, so confinement for serving time is needed? That's one question. Can it also ensure that juveniles are held accountable? Because in certain cases they need to. The question is how we can reform juvenile justice and can create a more developmental approach. And to discuss this, we have Judge Teana Watson with us. She is an elected judge of County Court at Law Number 5, and she brings to the bench a wealth of legal experience because she has served as former Chief Juvenile Prosecutor to Fort Bend County and a former municipal judge for the city. Thank you so much, Judge, for joining me today in this discussion. It is such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
With such great vast knowledge of juvenile reforms, because you have worked extensively on it. Let me start with this question. Judge Watson, you're also a current chair of Fort Bend County Juvenile Board, and you also preside over the county's misdemeanor drug court programs, which is also a treatment-based program.
Correct.
Can you tell us more about what county is doing about the juvenile board and what are the new things which is required?
Well, newsflash, I am now the administrative judge of the county courts at law, which handle all the administrative matters.
Wow.
And to get that, I had to resign, and I did. My chair of the juvenile board, but I still work extensively on juvenile cases, preside on juvenile cases.
Yes, because if you had to let go of that, but because last I spoke to you and you were like, yes, I deal with a lot of cases. And I was like,
yes.
So what is the requirement at the moment? Like, because you are in a position where you feel like this needs to be fixed here.
Sure. So with the juvenile courts right now in Fort Bend County, what we're seeing is a lot more aggressive cases. Juveniles are committing a lot more assaults, and we're seeing a lot more violence in the schools as well as in the family.
I agree.
And more family violence cases than I've ever seen with juveniles. Just as we had spoken about before, I think a lot has to do with the trauma. A lot has to do with having to be pent up for a year and a half. I hate to blame it on COVID, but a lot has to do with the lack of resources and a lack of ability to really understand what's going on.
I would say like social media has a role to play in this. Like, kids are not into person-to-person interaction anymore. The juvenile, they are more, basically we live our life with our cell phones.
Correct. I do attribute social media to a lot of what's going on with the young people. A lot of them are influenced so much by what they see and hear, and they don't have the brain development to really discern the difference. So you're really impacting a young adolescent at an impressionable age where they don't have a lot. We can look at it and we can go back after years of what we know and say, oh, that's funny, but it's not real. Oh, that's cute, but I'll never do it. They, on the other hand, will look at it as something that they should be doing. You have a lot of grooming that takes place with young girls. You have a lot of young girls that feel that their idea of beauty is what they see on social media. So they're very affected by everything from hair, body image, lips, everything they should get to try to be attractive. You have a lot of pressure on young people right now. Peer pressure, social media pressure. I have had juveniles in court for if a teacher or a parent or someone take their phone away, there's an assault. That's like a piece of who they are. That's like a part of their body. It's like an appendage.
Actually, that's what I have heard. Like, because it's like if you take their phone away, they get aggressive.
Exactly.
So, I mean, how justice system should be dealing with it? Because this is more, Judge, let's be honest, because this is more of a social issue.
Correct.
And the family and I understand with the economic situations and COVID and before that Harvey. We're dealing with a lot of pressures in our life as an adult. I think that sometimes we reach and we feel like I can't do it anymore. As a parent we can do it, as a sibling we can say it, as a partner we do it. But these are, like you mentioned, these are juvenile. They are just, their brain is not developed that way.
No. Well, we have the Parent Project in Fort Bend County. We have some real good counselors and some real good programs to really educate the parents on, look, these are ways you can try, and you have to try it like starting 10, 11, or 12, or else it's too late. To have boundaries with your children. If they're going to have a phone, they need to put it up at a certain time. These are some of the things that we're instructing parents to do, because by the time they get 14, 15, 16, 17, it's almost really too late. And the child has already almost become addicted to these instruments, these phones.
But Judge, I mean, probably I'm also, I have done it, like when our kids, we are eating dinner or something, we just give them a cell phone so they can keep watching their cartoons, stay quiet, and then, you know, we can have a meal in peace. So we are basically addicting them ourselves, probably.
The society right now, we really haven't written a book on how to deal with what's going on.
We can check it with ChatGPT. The ChatGPT AI could tell us what exactly is going on. This is crazy. Okay, but what do you think? What are the changes which needs to be done in the juvenile justice system?
Well, from the state level, especially when we had $1 billion surplus, the legislature had billions of dollars. We need more resources. I know a lot of people have said it. I know the teachers have said it, education. But we really do in juvenile justice.
Such as what type of resources?
So prevention programs are wonderful because that goes to kids before they get to me, which is super great. Giving them something to do, giving them something to do with their hands, their minds, their legs, their arms, something to do besides in that phone or thinking of something else to do that's getting them in trouble. So we need to keep them busy.
So basically making them more interactive towards the community, probably?
Absolutely. A lot of these kids are kids probably from a single parent home, maybe two parents, but they're working all the time. And so they're not getting a lot of the extracurricular.
Okay, Judge, we were talking about more of a consumer culture now. We are not going towards, like you said, more community interaction, more we are talking about prevention programs. It involves people. So the people-to-people contact is just, after COVID, it just ruined everything. Would you agree with that?
I agree. COVID didn't help, but we were getting there anyway. The phones, the social media, having your head in a camera and a monitor all the time. You know, even just with the AI, not talking to a human being when you need some consumer service and customer service.
There's none.
No.
You call them and there's nobody to talk
Nobody.
to. It just keeps directing you here and there. So there are helplines even for domestic violence. It's the same situation.
Correct.
You call them, but the other person is so done with the day
Exactly.
that you just, what are you doing? And okay, we can give you this number. You can call. I mean, there's no real help. Let's be honest.
A very dismissive culture is what we have. They call it cancel culture, dismissive culture. And that's what it goes down to our kids. It trickles down and they see that and they feel it. And these are, little people with real big needs.
Exactly. And they're very smart. They figure it out. Like we were talking about in the before the show, like I was giving you the example of that Amazon ad. It's more consumer culture. Moms are pushed to buy new things instead of promoting to sit with your children, talk to them. I mean, pressures are always there. Probably our parents had it, and when their parents had it, they were always there. But what need has been done? I mean, and what justice system can do about it?
Well, by the time they get to me, I won't say it's too late, but we're limited on options.
Yes.
Someone has been probably hurt. We have victims. We have a crime. And so we have to consider what happened. We have to consider what happened to the community.
Wow.
That restorative justice that we talked about, we have to do that and try to make sure that the relationships are built and repaired and what happened. But right now, there are not many options in the juvenile justice system. Fort Bend County is doing as good of a job as we can. We don't have a residential placement here in the county. That is for young people who need to be somewhere for treatment for a 6 to 9 month period of time.
Wow. That's added expense on the system.
It is.
Wow.
But we have young people with those needs. They have them mentally. They have them with substance abuse. We deal with.
That's what I was coming to the next, like the substance abuse part, like the usage of drugs in schools and with friends and promoting it here, and they get it everywhere.
They get it. Many kids have started marijuana use as young as 11 and 12 years old.
Wow.
And they will be very straightforward. They'll say they use it every day, every other day. Where they're getting the money from, I don't know, but you have a lot of usage. Some of it, you look and the child does have some diagnosis that can make them impulsive and make them very, I guess you could say, irritated.
Yes.
And therefore they're trying to self-medicate, so to speak, and it calms them down. But nevertheless, it's still mind altering, it's still illegal, and it's still not being monitored by a doctor. So lots of issues with our young people today.
Yeah.
And the way our society is not helping. It's
That's
just not
just
a very
not
empathetic
helping.
society.
I know. I'm going to take a very short break. We are going to go on a very short break, and after that we will be coming back, and we're going to talk about a very important point of offender accountability. Stay tuned.
Upgrade your luxury for just $1 down. Get summer ready in style at Big Star Cadillac. Step up to the new 2023 CT4 Luxury for just $379 a month, or the new 2023 CT5 Luxury for only $499 a month, both for 39 monthlies with just $1 down. Or purchase either and enjoy $750 bonus cash. Gulf Freeway, just 2 minutes south of the Beltway.
Shop smarter when you shop at Big Star. Shop BigStarCadillac.com.
Hey! Okay.
If you love me enough to tolerate my perfect little pets and all their glorious dander, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat. Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back. We have got Judge Teana Watson with us, and we were talking about how juvenile justice system works in our county and within the state. Thank you so much, Judge, again for joining me. I'm going to start again with the offender accountability, like we were talking about it. Like, how does that work? Like, I mean, I understand means when the person is there, he's been accused, a juvenile. So how does the justice system push them towards accountability?
So the district attorney's office have a victim impact panel and a victim impact statement where the victims can actually come to court. They're notified when there's court, and they can actually confront the offender. And the offender will have to see what not only he or she did, but what he or she did to the family and how it impacted the entire family. I had one case where a young man had an issue with another young man at the park, and he beat him up pretty badly. And the whole family was impacted by that. They said they can never go back to that park again because the person that was the victim actually ended up going to the hospital, getting stitches, and it was a really bad memory for them. And so the mom came and talked about how it impacted the entire family. He had to hear that and see the impact. And we hope with that accountability that they become more empathetic, that they become more sensitive. If you just throw them in jail and say, sit there for 3 months, 6 months, a year, a couple of years, have you really brought them better to society when they return?
I don't think so. There will be more rage, more anger.
Correct. And with other people probably like them who are also non-empathetic and more cold. So what we try for the young people to see with the juveniles as well as adults is the impact that their actions have on people and how it affects all of society.
So it just, you think, okay, when the community comes in, so what role community should be playing in such situations?
In every situation, we need the community involved in prevention programs. If you see some young people out and they don't have anything to do and they look like they're bored or they need some help with something, if we can get back to the old days and just give them something to do, keep them busy, see what we can do to fill in the gaps. We have lots of gaps. I'll talk to them. Parents are probably working a lot. Mom may be working a lot. We don't know the situation. But from the beginning, filling in the gaps from prevention all the way through the system, making sure the juvenile probation department does a great job as the social workers to try to make sure that their education is getting met and that they're doing what they need to as a child. But we as a community can do more as well. The faith-based institutions, the churches and mosques and all can do more. We have to keep the young people busy. I believe if you keep them busy, they'll be tired and they won't get into anything.
And basically, we are looking at mentoring programs.
Exactly.
More of mentoring programs. Because I feel like juveniles, they always look up to somebody. It could be in their family, it could be their friends. That becomes the social media influencer part. Or they even look at community members, some of them, because they just want to have a mentor in their life.
Very impressionable. We forget how impressionable children are. Their brains are not developed. They really are impressed.
They look like adults, but they're not adults.
No, not at all. Not at all. And there's a whole treatise on that, how we adultify certain kids. And it's not true. They're not. They may look a certain way, may even act a certain way, but they're still kids.
Because they're trying to find themselves, basically, because they're trying to figure it out if they are children or they're adult. And it's a very tough age. I must say, with this social media age and being a young man or a young woman, it is difficult because it's so tough, because you don't know what you want, what you need, and what you should be doing. Because these are the questions which always comes, because as mature adults, you exactly know, okay, don't get influenced by this or don't get influenced by that. I mean, yes, I agree. So you think that the county, what about, there is also a culture of drugs?
Yes.
And it's, the solution is like, even if they send it for mental health evaluations or something, they push you, instead of more psychological help, they push it towards psychiatric help. So it's pop-up help.
Exactly. That's kind of the
that's sad, actually.
And that's our society to a degree. We say don't use mood altering drugs, but that's exactly when you have psychotropic drugs as prescribed to you, they are altering your mood. And so what a lot of young people don't like the way it makes them feel. It makes them feel lethargic and slower, what many of them say. Some of them say it makes them gain weight and so on. And so they would prefer to use marijuana because they feel that slows them at a pace that they feel more comfortable. And it helps with their issues.
Judge, there is so much acceptability. For example, like I have spoken to a lot of youngsters and they say, oh, in high schools and in our schools, you can go in the bathroom and you can just do drugs over there. It's just so common. Why nothing has been done on that?
We try. The schools have all types of programs. We had been a lot harder actually on those cases as far as sending them away and locking them up longer. We are now using more prevention and intervention programs, just trying to make them aware and trying to get to them early enough. But let's face it, American culture is just what you're saying. I mean, on one hand, we're a large pharmaceutical culture. And on another hand,
I saw the documentary Dope Sick. I exactly get that because I was so upset after that. With the Purdue Pharma scandal in it. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, we are just living with it.
Exactly.
And I mean, even as adults, we find the refuge towards just taking a pill and trying to, it could be a muscle relaxant, it could be anything. And then you're like, okay, I feel better. But then obviously these are kids. But I mean, yes, it's definitely a very, and then there's another issue in many counties in Texas. I know you are from Fort Bend, but in Harris County, the jails are getting full. It's like when you keep accusing and these juvenile keep going there. So it's just jails are getting full and they know that they just have to go there and come out. So then accountability also diminishes there.
That's correct. Harris County was impacted more than any other county in the country with Harvey. Their entire courthouse was flooded, the criminal justice part, and they had to double up on the civil courts and so on. And so their cases were backlogged, which is not good for young people because you think about it, you're only young for a short period of time. And so it was a matter of just trying to get them something as opposed to the maximum of what you could do because the cases were so backlogged. So a lot of young people's cases probably did fall through the cracks, so to speak, just because of two devastations, Harvey and a pandemic back to back. With that, you also had some of these young people were living on the margins anyway.
That's what my next question. What about the minorities? You know, I mean, they are literally living on the margins. How are they supposed to survive?
Well, I won't say any little thing, but major things definitely just threw them over. There was just not enough of a safety net to catch them. And so when the devastations from Harvey and the pandemic and just school, think about it. School is the great savior for children.
I agree. The teachers are always there.
You know, you spend 8 hours, you think about it, that's really a third of your day. If you sleep 8 hours, that's really half of your day. And if you do extracurricular, even more than half of your day there. It's your socialization, it's your accountability, you have to go, it's your food, breakfast and lunch. It was everything. And when you remove that safety net, that's almost like removing the family from a child's life.
And then teachers are not paid that well. They are losing interest in mentoring these kids because they spend so much time with them. And then obviously, like you mentioned, their food, their lunch and their breakfast. And then that also leads to a lot of aggression. Then there are a lot of school fights as well. I mean, to be really honest, I have been to schools of, you know, it feels like a war zone. There's so much hormones over there and all that, but obviously it feels aggressive. So that's also contributing to all of this and
the state, there's billions of dollars in surplus. And, you know, the juvenile justice system would like more towards programs to help and filling in some of these gaps and the traumas that some of these kids did experience as a result of the catastrophes. And so it's real. It's all very, very real, and it's happening in real time. We see it with the young people.
I know. Thank you so much, Judge, for having this discussion with me. I know this might not interest so many people, but this is an important topic, because when something happened to these kids and they enter the justice system, then it becomes all reality for a lot of families.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Judge, for joining me. Thank you so much. There is a real need for juvenile justice system to put more emphasis on encouraging offender accountability through social justice or restorative justice. Engaging juvenile more in community service would make these youths take responsibility and make amends for their actions. Juvenile justice system should also help prevent redirecting through structured risk and should use more assessments while using intervention rooted in knowledge that adolescent development requires, so they can be treated fairly. Thank you for watching Truth Be Told with me, Sophia Jamal.